Welcome to another round of Salty Takeaways and Bitter Ends. And Jarrett, I'm just going to go to you since you were in the post-match press conference of one hot Gonzalo Pineda.
Yeah, he was hot. It's a good way to describe it. Look, it's dropped points, and we've been over this early in the season. This is a different circumstance, I think. But at the same time, it still hurts because you dropped points at home. You didn't need to drop points at home. Now, the good news is that other things went your way tonight around the league.
Yep.
The bad news is that other things went your way, so you kind of missed a chance to cement yourself, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
And that stings. But again, bottom line is, at least you didn't lose if you want to really find something out of it. But it's disappointing because you were better than them for a lot of the night. And it's not any disrespect to New York City. New York City is a disjointed team, as I think is the word of the day for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But there's talent there. It's just not synced up, if that makes sense.
No, it does. And we'll get into the numbers. Obviously, it was a goal against the run of play. And it was indicative of a lot of the action where, and I was trying to figure out the right word, and it just seemed that, and the word that I came up with was pursuit for Atlanta United. It seemed like, just as a general rule at points, there wasn't a whole lot of mustard on passes between NYCFC players, and you saw continued pressure by Atlanta United defensively to try to win the ball back. And the pursuit was constant, and it gave you that first goal 17 minutes in where it was against the run of play. You have Luis Araujo jumping in and just being stout defensively, getting a turnover. It ends up in the back of the net with a great pass to Marcelino Moreno.
It was, and Araujo was so good in that to basically force the bad touch. He's right on his back and then gets around him with those long legs, pokes it away, and gets off to the races. And at that point, he plays in Moreno, and Marcelino Moreno goes with the left foot. I think he kind of flat-footed John Johnson with the shot. And this comes moments after Marcelino Moreno almost curls one into the far corner just before that.
Mm-hmm.
New York City came out in round one of this fight throwing punches.
Yep.
They came out like a fighter. Honestly, when the first thing that popped in my head was this is like watching a fighter that knows they need to knock out early, and they didn't get it. They had a few chances to get a goal or two, and they squandered them. Atlanta gets theirs, and man, New York City got. And this is what Gonzalo Pineda harped on: is Atlanta never buried them.
Nope.
If they get the second goal, I think New York City completely deflates. They were a hair's breadth away from completely unraveling at 1-0. They were gonna probably come to pieces at 2-0, but Atlanta didn't punish them. And Ronnie Dyla's had a really up and down season, a lot more downs than ups recently. Every button he hit as a sub in that game was perfect and changed the tenor of the game.
Yeah, the moment that you mentioned to me just there, that Maxi Morales a yellow card in the 24th, you're sitting there thinking, okay, so Morales gets a yellow card, and they were kind of coming unglued a little bit. Going through the numbers courtesy of our friends at SofaScore, Araujo and Moreno, no surprise, they both punched 8s. Cubo Torres, who gave you 60 before Joseph came in, gave you a 6.8. Brooks Lennon a 6.6. Josechu and Sosa gave you 7s. Bello a 7.2, Miles a 7.4, Ellen Franco a 7.5, Anton Walks a 6.5, Brad Gazan a 6.8. Joseph comes in, gives you a 6.7, Sadic a 6.3. We'll get into that when we talk about the second half in just a little bit. Franco Ibarra a 6.4 in his time in the match. Looking at your stats, possession 54-46 to Atlanta United, total shots even at 13. Atlanta United had more shots on target, 7-4. NYCFC had 3 blocks, 18 fouls to 13 for NYCFC. Passing on the night, Atlanta United, accurate passes, 401 of 482 at 83%. Long balls, 49 of 82. And that was something that we also seemed to see from Atlanta United, is that they were working quickly, thinking quickly, taking the switch when it was there, and having NYCFC on their heels. So 60% on your long balls, 6 of 17 on your crosses, 20 of 32 on your dribbles, won just about 53% of your duels, won 6 of the 11 on the night, and had 8 interceptions and 18 clearances. So when we talked about the first 45, Jarrett, that first 10 to 15 up until the point of the goal was NYCFC. Then in the second half, it was all Atlanta, and you had the moment where Sean Johnson had to come up with 2 saves in quick succession, just 5 minutes in, after Moreno was fouled, and you had the set piece. And then Moreno and Kubo combined, where it was a shot that was high. And then Bello, I think, is the moment that a lot of folks will sit there and look at, where Bello in the 55th absolutely hit the crossbar on a great piece of work from Kubo Torres. And I think that's the moment that a lot of folks are going to be looking at.
And yeah, and I want to 90% got to touch that ball. Not a big touch, but maybe enough to deflect it and to change the trajectory so it goes straight off the crossbar instead of maybe like right underneath or off the underside of the crossbar. But Bello knocks the piss out of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, talking in the press box, it does feel like, George Bello could have 4 or 5 goals this year, and it really stinks that he doesn't.
Yeah.
And that's something I think I want to see him improve on. Now, there's like other things he's got to improve on as he continues to develop into a pro. We know he has a lot of potential. George Bello in front of goal is something I think he's got to improve on. And look, some guys are just naturally just comfortable in that moment. Others got to really work at it. And at this level, I think it's something he's going to have to keep working on, because it's got to get better. At least to me, it does.
No, I think that there are times when you'll sit there and you look at George Bello, and he will lay the ball back to Joseph or Moreno or Barco or Aruja or whoever's coming in behind. Instead of being aggressive and taking the shot himself, he's laying it back for those forwards to finish the offensive rush.
Yeah, and it's going to be something he's got to work on. I think Johnson gets attached to it. It's still one you'd like to see Barco bury. And there's a couple other situations, and Gonzalo Pineda harped on him after the game about, hey, this is like, make the simple pass. Like, don't go for the spectacular always. Let's just kill the game off. That's a broken New York City team that you let hang around, and you had no business letting them hang into the game, and that's what happened. And, New York City makes a sub. Santiago Sosa goes off with an apparent injury, and Franco Ibarra comes on. And look, Ibarra is a really great player, but Sosa was on one tonight, and it stinks that you had to take him off. It was kind of a perfect storm of the guy who was kind of the metronome for you has to come off, and Ibarra does well, but Sosa was on one, and then at the same time, Ronnie Dylan makes all the right subs. Atlanta kept giving up chances late, and they gave up possession late. New York City wants to play with the ball anyway, but Atlanta gives up possessions late and gives up a number of fouls that I thought were really poor. The last one that results in the goal will make you pull your hair out. If Brad Guzan had any left, he'd have pulled his hair out on that, because the guy is dribbling away from the goal towards the sideline. He can't hurt you at that point. I mean, he's not Spock. He's not going to bend time and space. This is not Inception. He's not going to bend the ball 180 degrees back towards the goal. And it's just a sloppy foul that sets up a free kick in a perfect spot. And then it's a perfect free kick. And it sucks, man. It really does suck, because even though you didn't kill them off, I think you were better for chunks of the game. And then you were able to control it when things were kind of tilted against you. You survived. You suffered, but you get the gut punch. You get the late free kick, and it just doesn't. It's a Hail Mary, and it doesn't come off. And so, I mean, you're still in 5th place. You could have been in 4th place tonight, I think. I'd have to look at the table. You could have been in a lot better situation than you are. And it's something you got to learn from. You got to turn on your heels real damn fast, too, because a Miami team that beat the dog out of Toronto. And look,
Mm-hmm.
I get Atlanta helped break Toronto,
Yeah.
but a Miami team that beat the dog out of Toronto is coming down this weekend, and their season's done. They want to play spoiler. I don't blame them a bit. It's going to be a chippy game.
Yeah, it'll be a chippy game in a week's time. You mentioned substitutions. Talos Magno comes in and gets a yellow card from Miles in what I thought was a pretty soft foul with 5 minutes to go, which created the first of those set pieces that we were looking at. And then Thorarinsson, who scored the goal on the set piece, and I mean, that was picture perfect. And that was another one of those late subs that Ronnie Dyla hit the right button with. And, he pulled the lever and came up with triple sevens on that one, too. So let's go into the table before we go into Twitter. New England, with 31 matches played, they're 20 points clear. They are at 69 points. Nashville, guess what they did? Nashville drew. And they're 11, 16, and 3. 16 draws in 30 matches this year. Drawn their last 5 across the board.
When Nashville gets a weird home game in the playoffs, or, however the hell it shakes out for them, they're going to have to look in the mirror and go, we drew a shit ton of home games this year. Now, they drew a lot of road games, too, don't get me wrong. And you never look a gift horse in the mouth with road draws. Drew a lot of home games this year. It's weird because that team's kind of weird, man. I kind of get nervous about Nashville because there's so much talent, and Gary Smith's really good at his job. They seem to just step on a rake every now and then. It's not like they don't step all the way on the rake, but it comes up and then they catch it nope. So it hasn't bit them. They're in good shape. Don't get me wrong. Nashville is a very good team. Probably one of your best bets if you want someone to go into Gillette Stadium and knock off New England. They're still weird.
Nashville, by the way, with their draw 1-1 to Columbus. A lot of news that came out of that one. Jossie Zardes with an apparent ligament injury. We'll know more about that as we go. No Hawkinson, no Mukhtar for the match in Chester this weekend because of yellow card accumulation. So Nashville right now second at 49 points. Philadelphia 12 wins, 30 matches, and 46. Orlando with their draw against CF Montreal tonight, they're at 46 points. Atlanta United with their draw, they're at 43. They are in fifth. CF Montreal with their draw, they are 42 points in sixth. DC United is in seventh at 41 and 12 wins. And NYCFC is out of the playoffs at the moment with 41 wins and 11 wins and a goal difference of plus 11. Red Bulls are at 40 points, having won 4 of their last 5. Crew are at 38. Inter Miami, I include them just because they won last time out. They are at 35. Atlanta, once again, does not play this weekend. They do not play for a while. So it's going to be looking at everybody else this weekend with Nashville playing Philadelphia above you, Orlando playing the Revs above you. So that, that can impact you one way or the other as you look at it. CF Montreal goes to BMO. So if you're an Atlanta United fan, I guess you're looking at Toronto for a little help this weekend. DC goes to NYC and they play this weekend. And then you've got Red Bulls with Crew this weekend. So you're hoping for a lot of draws with the action that is coming up around the corner this weekend with everyone around you. And you get to be a spectator with your next match with Inter Miami coming up in a week's time. Let's get into Twitter. And some folks, Jarrett, they've posted their salty takeaways with what we've seen tonight. And we'll play it as we always do, like cliffhanger style. So if there's something that you wish to address, please feel free to do so. UCR 89 comes in. And as part of Overreaction Thursday, so we can include it here as well. Taking Aruju off was a mistake, and I'm sorry to say this. I love Joseph, but he brought and provided nothing to the match. I don't think he should see the field unless we have a lead. Our offense nosedived when he showed up. That is definitely Overreaction Thursday material. Joseph didn't provide anything, shouldn't have seen the field. He was useless. It was a mistake to sub off Arujo. Moreno needs not to waste so many chances. So that's a lot from UCR 89 tonight. Michael Head, Jarrett, really says something that reminds us about sports. Why do we continue to give up last-minute goals that break my heart? That came from Michael Head tonight.
Yeah, hey, they died so the Braves could soar, by the way. I just want to make that clear. I don't know, man. It sucks though, and there are 6 points sitting on that table that Atlanta United has dropped at home late. Those 6 points, by the way, would mean Atlanta would be tied for second in the East. I want to make that clear.
Mm-hmm. Will Sikor says, I really feel like we really missed Barco in the second half. Our transition didn't really feel like it had any bite after NYC made the subs. Obviously, definitely missing Barco tonight, but I thought that Atlanta United handled themselves pretty well in a game that had a lot of back and forth with it. It's just that once again they couldn't kill the game off, especially in the second half. That's as I'm looking at it from that perspective. Nick Lamphere says Bello has been poor in front of the attacking goal. We talked about this just a little bit ago. Atlanta failed to adjust as NYCFC committed numbers forward. Sadic has to be smarter than to commit that foul. He was set up for it, took the bait. Great moments for the team, but obviously not a complete performance. We've talked about, I think, 2 of the 3 topics that Nick brings in, but he says that Atlanta failed to adjust as NYC committed numbers forward.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's just they committed numbers forward, and Atlanta just kind of, I don't know what you would call it, man. It's almost like I think they were kind of caught off guard a bit. Like it was one of those things where it's like they're late to the second ball, and I'm not used to seeing that from them in that situation. So I was a little caught off guard by it, watching it. And give credit at the same time as we're critical of Atlanta United. You give credit to New York City. Not everything is always going to be about Atlanta's failure so much as New York City back against the wall. Playoff lives, not necessarily over, but this is a 6-point game for them.
Yep.
They nutted up at the end with the subs, and they did what they had to do. So as much as we're mad about Atlanta United, I do think you do have to tip your cap to break out the Freddie Gonzalez-ism for what New York City was able to do, getting numbers forward, being aggressive. We know Atlanta's going to play with the ball through hell and high water, making Atlanta play with the ball, making them make mistakes the way Atlanta made New York make mistakes at points in the game.
Also on the board, Shiva says, without Barco and Joseph against a good NYC team, I guess a draw is okay, but the thing is we just had no control of the game in the final 30 minutes, and that was a problem. I would say that NYC became more desperate, Jarrett, to the point that you were just making. I think that they became more desperate. Ronnie Daly came in with the subs and fresher legs, and so the game had a lot of back and forth to it in the final 30 minutes. Just once again going over the notes that I had, there weren't really a whole lot of moments, so it was just a lot of back and forth. Moreno had an opportunity in the 71st. Joseph tried to cross in the 78th. You had the Ibarra sub when Sosa had to come out. There was a shot in the 65th by NYC that was right on that Gazan made the save on. And that takes you back to the Joseph sub and Alan Franco getting the yellow there. So I think that the final 30, Jarrett, had a lot of back and forth to it more than anything.
Yeah, and I'll address the Joseph thing because Gonzalo Pineda talked about Joseph and what he brings to the table. Because I understand, I've seen a couple people make the point tonight that Joseph didn't give you a lot, not as much as you wanted him to, and it's also Joseph is one of the most prolific country has ever seen, and honestly, with the way MLS is growing, probably will ever see. Yeah. I don't know if you'll see another player as prolific as Joseph. All that being said, Gonzalo Pineda brings him in because, as he put it, he said Joseph has that killer instinct.
Yeah.
That Joseph is going to, and Brad Guzan, I believe, I'm sorry, was the one getting on that train. Talking about Joseph has a killer instinct. Joseph is, he's going to chase down that ball. He's going to find that rebound, be in the right spot. You put him on there because weird things happen in these games, and Cubo Torres gave you 60 minutes. you asked 30 of Joseph, and Joseph's not a bad closer usually. Like, he's not a bad option to close games out because of what he can give you up top. Because that game, to me, and I tweeted it out during the game, is, New York City's committing bodies forward. Atlanta's going to have chances to counter. If there's a human being on this planet that has ever worn red and black, if it's, Atlanta's on a counter, it might be 1v1. Who do I want with the ball? It's the short guy with the weird hair every 2 weeks. That's kind of where you're at with it. And it did not work tonight. And Joseph was not as effective as you wanted him to be. I think the game plan going forward, though, especially with a week off now, is to make sure he is 100% and him give you 90 minutes. And tonight was kind of a weird game, and New York City wrestling control away changes that. When Ibarra has to come in, it changes that. A lot of things change in that game. There's a lot of variables to it, and a lot of it just sucks because it went against you at the end and deflated the hell out of you.
JBG at Goldie for everyone. Why were Atlanta players trying to have fancy feet in the defensive third versus clearing the ball late in the game?
I don't know. Like, there's a couple of situations where I was like saying that to myself as well. They're all very talented with the ball at their feet, and it's one of those, like, if they break that, oh God, they're going to end up with like a 4-on-2. But sometimes you just gotta live to fight another day. And there were a couple times I thought where they were, and this is Gonzalo Pineda talking about it as well. And I think he meant more in the attacking half, but it applies here. Sometimes just make the simple play. Sometimes just live to fight another day and take the draw and retire from the battlefield with your army intact. If we're just going to belabor the war analogies.
Yeah, there you go.
And yeah, sometimes, man, just put it in row H if you got to, or just put it downfield in a corner and make them restart it. Now, this isn't Red Bulls where they don't know how to consistently build an attack. New York City's showed you they're more than capable of that. But yeah, sometimes when that press was ratcheting up, I thought Atlanta got a little cute.
Also on the board, got a couple more here with Twitter tonight. And thanks to everybody who has jumped in and wanted to discuss this. Stizzle A, to the point that we were making earlier, Atlanta and NYC hang around and it bit them. Good teams put these games away and it didn't happen. Blown leads late, twice against Nashville and NYC. Could doom Atlanta. Hashtag underreaction. What day is it again?
Like I said, in a different world, if you finish off those 3 games, Nashville, Philadelphia, and this one, you're tied for second place in the East.
Yeah.
It's what you get for not finishing games off. It's what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, hell, you're in second place by yourself because one of those was against Philadelphia.
Yeah. So that's where you are right now, 30 matches in. The one, the only, at Justin LaFontano. I mean, disappointing to say the least. 3 points were in the bag, even though the match lacked flow. David, at Who Took My Thrash. Sosa was great. Losing him in the second half was what turned the game, in David's opinion. We lost some control at that point. Solid overall effort, just need to find a second goal.
I completely agree, and so did Gonzalo Pineda. I mean, Sosa not being in there kind of shifted the control away from Atlanta United. That sucked. I don't think he's off base at all with that. And, it's one of those that you hate to see him go out, and you hope it's something very minor. According to Gonzalo Pineda, Sosa came over and told him, he was struggling, and, Gonzalo Pineda made the decision to pull him and rest him. But Santiago Sosa, remember, he starts the year on fire, kind of finds a lull, and Gonzalo Pineda really, I think, grabbed him and pulled him up by the bootstraps. And, we've seen so much more from Santiago Sosa and seen that player where we thought, oh, this guy's going to make a lot of money with somebody other than Atlanta at some point.
Yeah.
And he showed you more of that tonight. It just sucked that he had to come out when he did. And for New York City, it's the perfect storm of, we're going to make these changes. Oh, the guy tempoing the game has to come out too? Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we will talk about more of it on overreaction Thursday. Yes, that's what
Thursday.
Thursday. So that's where
Thursday as we're recording this. I'm going to be dead.
Well, you won't be the only one, brother. So once again, in the morning, when the sun is out, not right now, as the sun is not out, as the time has changed from one day to the next. We'll talk about it more in the morning on Soccer Down Here. We'll get to talk about a lot of stuff that went on. And right now, Atlanta United, 30 matches in, is in fifth, within reach of the folks above them. And they're going to be playing each other this weekend. So Atlanta is going to be watching as the folks around them try to sit there and trade haymakers with each other, as Vancouver is now a part of the playoff race in the West. So as Jarrett,
Tim,
so as Jarrett basks in the glow of that, that is it for another round of the Salty Takeaways and Bitter Ends. Thanks to everybody who hung out with us on Twitter to let us know your instant reactions, and we will go into more in-depth when the sun comes up. So for Jarrett, I'm John. Played safe, everybody. Mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha plata, y'all.